say that God is not a man. God's not even a being. God's not a being. God's not a central personality at all. And you're going to have to really reach a little bit, I think, to get this, because it took me a few years to get it, and maybe you can get it in a few seconds. If you could find a little speck of dust under your bed, tiny, microscopic almost, and if you could put it on the end of your finger and look at it, that is God. That is wholly, totally, and completely God. The guy in the sky is not God. The man in the robe is not God. That little speck of dust is totally, completely God. And so is every other element in this universe. And no two elements, here's proof for you, no two elements are the same. In all of this universe, on all the planets, you can go, if you could take one little tiny speck of dust from the farthest planet, and if you had time, you could compare it to all the rest of the specks of dust throughout the universe. None of them are alike. No two grains of sand are alike. No two cells are alike. No two people are alike. They're all different parts of the living, moving, creative force, mind, presence that we call God, that I call Holy Spirit or Great Spirit. Great Spirit in the Indian word, the Great Spirit that moves in all things, as all things. And why is it important for you to know that as we move forward? Because it's important that when you pray, you know that you are in this universe that we know of, in this galaxy and perhaps in this universe, one of the few beings that can actually contemplate and meditate and think about a thing that is not, and then bring it into creation. Like I can't make a spider web. I don't think anyone can. Spiders are just incredible about making a spider web. And you see a spider web that's covered with frost or drops of dew, and the sunlight's coming through, and there's prisms, and oh my God, it's so incredible. And a bird's nest, there are different kinds of bird's nests that I can't build. You can't, probably nobody can build, but a bird can build them. But they do it naturally, automatically, because they flow with nature. They flow with the river of God, with the river of grace. They just be who they are and what they are. It's what it says. Jesus said, behold the birds of the air and the animals and the lilies of the field, and they just flow with the light. They just flow with grace, and nothing else is even close to like them. But we can make decisions. We can decide what to do, what to think, how to be. You came to this class not by accident. No, you didn't. You came here for a purpose. You were called to be here. Otherwise, no way you would have spent all this time here. You're supposed to be here. And you're supposed to unfold these truths within you. That all things are God. All is good. All is God. All is love. So when you say a prayer, you cannot ask God to give you something, because God is everything. And because you are the creative mind of God, you're not only one of the many pieces of God, but you have within your mind, you have the creative ability of God to create. So you, among all of the other creatures, can say, let there be this, and it will be. You can say, let there be peace, and it will be. Let there be war, and it will be. Let this be healed, and it will be. But you can't ask God for that, because we already have everything. There's only one prayer. There's only one prayer, and that's thank you. That's the only prayer there is. Now I can be working with you in prayer and saying, dear Holy Spirit, I feel my friend John's mind opening now to your presence and to your love and to your grace. I feel my friend John, I can do that, and sort of be guiding you along into the envelopment of God's love, but I cannot I cannot in any way pray to God for something, because whatever I'm praying for already exists. It's my mind that's not focused in that area. I have my doubts. I'm not focused in that area because that area is blind to me. Because that something in my past has said, you can't do that. You can't go there. You're not capable of doing that. You're not worthy of having that. We were hearing one of my dear friends talk tonight about her book. And she wants really to have this book out there. She can't ask God to do that. It's already, the pathway is already laid. Your pathway to whatever you want is already laid. Perhaps you're wandering back and forth in other areas because you're not paying attention to the major guiding light of that path. And that's your individual, unique ability to love in your own way. Not as anyone else, but in your way. When you love as only you can love, without hesitations, without any expectations, only with the joy of being able to give yourself in love. When you're willing to do that and not wonder how somebody's going to look at you or what somebody's going to think, but to know that you are channeling the light of the living God that is the presence throughout all of eternity, that you're channeling that through you. That force and that intelligence, that frequency with all the massive intelligence that it carries, you're channeling that forward from you. And uniquely, you're the only one that can do it. No one else that's ever been born or ever will be born is you. You're the only one that can do it. And when you do that, then your path opens up before you. And then you have to have the courage to follow it. And the joy that it gives you every day. Let's meditate. Please close your eyes.
Bob, we had one question from before the break that I had promised to try and get the individual a chance to ask.
Let's do it.
Are you okay with taking that? Just
You bet.
because it's our final night and I don't want that person sitting with the question until the end of June.
Absolutely.
So, just a second here. So let's spotlight Mubina. Where did you go? There you are. This is Mubina Lagari. And here she is. Hi, Mubina. Oh, we don't have your video. Mubina, are you there? There you are.
Mubina,
Yeah,
good evening.
hi.
Hi.
Bob. I hope the internet connection is not going to go. It's been a bit odd tonight, but my question was, and I hope it doesn't take us off the track with where you were going with the meditation, but although I may have not done as much justice with reading and following everything during the course, my question is about the mind movies that we spoke about somewhere in between. And if we are, or if I am able to focus on that, on what my hopes and my dreams are, and in that future self that I want to be, that I want to experience, and so forth. I find that coming back to daily struggles, how does that help? Because then, you know, being in a meditative state or being with like-minded people, I find I can go there. But then the daily challenges of life, whether it be worries or concerns or, you know, responsibilities and all these things that come up that sometimes are difficult to deal with, how can that practice help with that? Or do you have another tool, either from Joe Dispenza or yourself, that you could suggest?
Your question is a good one, and I'm glad you asked it, because there are other people that are wondering the same thing. And here's the thing. As we learned from Joe Dispenza, the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. It doesn't know the difference. So you can be doping off and be imagining one of your children being stabbed to death in an alley, and all of the feelings and panic and mind things all happen as though it were true, because the brain doesn't know the difference. The reason that we do mind movies is the reason that we detail them so completely is so that we play those mind movies and the brain doesn't know the difference. And so it creates the reality of our life as though that's true. And yes, there are things that are going on in our life right now that contradict that. And then but knowing that our mind movie is all powerful, we say this too shall pass. This thing that's going on, this isn't a part of my movie. This will pass. I will just address it with love, with complete love and healing, and let it pass. But I'm staying with my mind movie. But I have to make sure my mind movie is solidly detailed so that it's not just fantasy. It is the life I'm creating.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. So if everybody will close your eyes, please. This will only be 5-minute meditation, but I think it'll be a beautiful one. Take deep breath and let it go. Breathe into your feet and let it go. Breathe into your legs and let it go. Breathe into the lower half of your body and let it go. Breathe into your heart and don't let it go. Breathe into the rest of your body around your heart and let it go. Breathe in now to your entire body with the exception of your heart. And that little place on the very top of your head that used to be a soft spot. Keep those open, breathing in and out of those two areas as though they were one. Let the rest of your body go. Let it go. Let it go. Please take your heart and that place at the top of your head and move them both together up above the top of your head into your higher heart mind. And breathe into that. And with each breath, let that heart mind be filled with grace, with the love of the eternal presence of our Creator in all forms. Breathing in that love, that grace. And when you breathe out, breathe your grace back out to the world, your unique individual grace that only you have. Breathing in the grace of the great Creator. Breathing out your own beautiful grace, eternal grace. I'm going to be quiet and let you just do that in your higher mind. You are the Christ light. You are the Buddha. You have a purpose, which is to shower the world with your unique love in whatever form that takes. Breathing in the presence of God, breathing out your own grace, your own presence. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. Now you know that you and the Creator and the creation are one. Breathing in that Christ light, breathing out your own light. Breathing in God's light, breathing out your own Christ light. Take your time now and come back to our room. But you need not leave this self behind, because this is truly who you are. So, my dear friends, we come to the end of this course. I am so deeply honored that you chose to stay with me all this time. What a great message that is to me about our connection, about our relationship. I am so honored, so touched. Thank you. And now, I want to let you know that if you would like to donate for this class and to help us reach this light into the corners of the world, then just read with me or recite with me this beautiful mantra. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive with the grace of God, with the generosity of love. Here's how we do that.
To make your donations now, simply click on the chat button at the bottom of your screen to access direct links to PayPal and Tidely. All credit cards are accepted. You can also donate by visiting unityofvancouver.org. Your donations help us to spread the message of love, kindness, and possibility, and help make the world a better place. Thank you.
Greg Braden's Divine Matrix is our next class. It starts on Wednesday, June 30th at 7 o'clock, an hour and a half. This book is just absolutely amazing. This is our next step, not only in becoming supernatural, but in recognizing ourselves as supernatural. Please buy the book early and read the introduction and the first chapter before our first class. This is going to be a marvelous step up from where we are. Meanwhile, between now and then, will you please meditate every day? 15 minutes twice a day. That's 1/48 of your day. Let yourself open up to the flowing love of the universe. You see, it's where we focus our attention that our intention is focused. So focus our attention on love. And that's where our intention is focused. And that's what we create. Now, we're going to ask you to unmute yourselves and go up to the gallery and go into gallery view. And then you can all say hello and goodbye and good night and thank you and auf Wiedersehen and adios.
Could we have your email address, Bob?
Absolutely. Bob at Eros Foundation. That's ARAS, acceptance, respect, affection, support. ARAS Foundation.org.
And if you forget, you can always just send it to Bob at unityofvancouver.org because he also has a
Cool.
good email address.
Cool.
Bob, thank you so much for this course. It's just been really, really special. And please give Mary my love and very best wishes for her quick recovery.
Thank you, Jean. I love you, dear.
Love you too.
Thank you, everybody, for your participation and your very candid and just authentic sharing. It's been very helpful to all of us.
I need PayPal.
Is Anne here tonight? Is Anne
Yes.
here? Okay,
Yes.
maybe not.
Yes.
I heard her voice. I heard her
Hello.
voice. Yeah, down
Hi.
there she is
Yes.
at the bottom of the screen. Anne's here, Bob. Yes.
Anne, were we
I'm
supposed to
here.
have a meeting?
Yes, tomorrow?
It's tomorrow?
Yes,
Are
is
you
that
gonna
right?
are you gonna set up the Zoom?
I could do that, sure.
Okay, good.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You bet. 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Bob.
I love
Thank
you
you,
Good to
guys.
see you all.
Thank you,
You
Bob. Been amazing.
enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
It was great. Great
Thank
group.
everyone for being so kind and taking me in as part of your family.
We love you, Glenda.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
Bob, you're just all heart and you're so inspiring.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm out of here. Good night.
Bye. Me
Okay,
too.
good night.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
See you in June. See you 30th.
Yeah, join us for that Divine Matrix class. It'll be interesting. It'll be a really interesting add-on to what we've just studied in the last few weeks and months. It's just, in fact, I'm not sure if everybody knows, but Greg Braden travels a lot with Joe Dispenza, and Joe will do a talk, and then Greg Braden will do a talk. Their work's very complementary.
Thanks, Randy, for all you do for us.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you, Jean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
enjoyed it.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the rest of June, and we'll see you on June the 30th. Good night.
Okay, see you then. Thank you, Randy.
Good night, Ryan. Good night, Jean. Good night, Joanne. And Lynn and Ralph. Ralph's turned his computer off. And you're trying to get out, are you, Joanne? I can take you out of the room, no problems. You can just close your browser tab if it's in a browser, but in the meantime, I'll just help you out of the room there. Perfect. So it's just you and me, kid. Another one for the books.
Yeah, well, there you go. We're back.
Yeah. So yeah, I managed to get Mubina on there. She had a question. So yeah, we rolled with a few little curveballs, and All was well. When you did hear the recording of how to give, right?
Yeah, you heard the recording, and took me a few seconds, but I did paste the donation information into the chat line.
Nice.
As far as I know, that's all I'm supposed to do because we agreed that there was no real way to. There's no real way to get it to two people that are ourselves in the world of YouTube. There's no point.
Yeah, there's no point. So that was good. Yeah, we got her done. I think, yeah.
So the 30th is a few weeks from now. I will forget absolutely nothing. I've got notes, and we can revisit at that point by calling in the afternoon a little bit earlier, see where we're at, see if Brian's available.
Yeah, I'd like to pick 1 or 2 times beforehand to just get it to the point that you've been sort of exposed to doing it yourself. So in other words, we get 2 or 3 people, Janet and Brian and me, and we hand you this agenda and we're like, okay, you're the boss. And we'll say, okay, so the first thing, let's get our PowerPoint opened, and you'll load your PowerPoint. Let's get it in full screen mode. Okay, let's open YouTube. Okay, we'll just walk through it, and you'll do all these things. And while we've got a mock show, and you'll probably, if you're human, have a few spots where you're like, where's this? How do I do that? And we'll have the time and you got a complete safety net because it's not a live show, and you run through it a couple of times, and then do it another couple of times, and it'll only take like 20-30 minutes each time. And then when the next show comes up, maybe you and Brian can just do it, and I'll just sit in the background on the phone, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them.
Okay, yeah, we can see that, and then we just have to sort of fit ourselves around whatever summer schedules are happening.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. We'll just move and groove, and eventually you'll get some experience.
Yeah, that's good. I really like. This is my hangout with you guys. I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Sundays is fun too when I can make it. Usually I'm there on Sundays. Sometimes like I've had some conflicts with my university course. But I've had to do university stuff instead. But it's a lot of fun being involved with Unity. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Well, thanks for your help. And it's very, as it says, it's just a very nice and generous thing to do, to make some time available to, become one of our technical, team members, if you will. So
I wanted to ask you though, do you think from a Yogananda perspective, do you think that your affiliation with the thought forms of Yogananda had some part to do with your wonderful success in the material world?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there is, Babaji called Sri Yukteswar to his group at the Kumbh Mela early on in Sri Yukteswar's life, and he told him that the whole purpose was to meld Eastern spirituality with Western science and technology and come up with a harmonious, what he called the golden middle path. And that's really what kind of formulated in the background my idea of what my spiritual path was. Is, I know I still needed to be in the world, and I had goals. And Yogananda was a very positive individual. He wasn't just devotion and pure surrender. He was like, go out in the world and do something that dazzles the world that's never been done before. And things like, if you don't feel like taking on the world and making it a better place after you meditated, then you didn't meditate right.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. He very much emphasizes the importance of creativity.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, he was a big influence on me, and I mean, the guy that introduced him to me was an a devout follower. Um, he Choco Simon lived to 104 years old.
Oh, really? Well, that's
Yeah,
quite a ripe old age.
but he brought me onto the stage at Unity and introduced me to the science of spirituality in like 1980 with a demonstration where he had me hold on to some kind of a galvanic skin resistance thing that put a light electrical current into my body. And he had me close my eyes on the stage, room full of people. And he said, okay, I want you to think about something that's really sad, like the saddest thing that's happened to you in the last 5 years. So I did. And he took a fluorescent tube, not plugged into anything, and he brought it down to my head. And when it got about, like 5 inches away from my head, the tube lit up. Not particularly bright, but people could see that it was lighting up. And then he said, okay, now open your eyes. He said, now I want you to think of the happiest day of your life that you can remember, the happiest thing that's happened for you, the thing that's really kind of made a difference, that where you just can really remember being very joyous. And then now close your eyes. We'll really want you to feel that joy, So I was sitting there, silence, and I'm feeling this joy. And all of a sudden I hear 200 people go, like it was just like this gasp, this murmur over the room. And then he's saying, so you can see the difference in his ability to allow energy to flow through him based on the state that he's holding. And as it was related to me afterwards, he brought the tube down and it was like 3 feet away from my head and it lit up completely bright. Whereas when I was in a contracted state, it was like 4 inches from my head and it was just like dim yellow. But now it was like, yeah.
That's amazing. So it was actually resonating agitation through the energy from your brain or your being.
Yeah, well, I mean, a certain amount of electricity was coming into my body through that thing. So great, I've received extra energy in my body. How does it go out? And it's like the physiology, if you are in negative mind states, the opposite of love, anything, many different gradations away from love, the physiology shuts down and your energy does not go out into the world.
Oh my goodness! So there's no transmission.
Yeah, exactly. We often in spirituality we say, well, he has a closed heart, or his heart is armored up, right? And you're not much of a force in the world, but when you're open and happy and loving, your energy is flowing out and it's impacting, those around you. And it's interesting because in meditations, I often, I really, as I studied quantum physics and so forth, I think a lot about wave energy, and Schrodinger's equation, etc. But I was meditating and I used to have this thing where I would meditate and I would visualize, in metta and so forth, these waves of love and energy emanating from my being. And one day I was in a very, very deep meditation and I was visualizing these waves coming out from me. And all of a sudden, the image just got wholesale replaced. And I could see myself sort of in the center of like a universe, like in the center of space. And I was seeing these waves go out and it just replaced in it. And the waves were, lines of white, that were kind of going out. And wholesale, the image changed. And it was like when the thought was finished, a loving thought was finished, the entire universe just went white. And
Wow.
it was like, and it was like, where did that come from? Because I'm trying to visualize waves, right? And I'm just visualizing wave after wave and just bing, 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 bing. And then all of a sudden, I was doing with my eyes closed. I just went like the thought comes out and it's done. It's just
What was it? Everything became light?
yeah, everything was just like instead of waves of white light, it just everything became white. And I can't even really explain it. It was like the loving thought form was complete, and then it was complete in the entire universe. In other words, when it was complete in me, it was complete everywhere.
Oh, well, that's amazing. So it was a complete step change.
Yes, it basically, it was revealed to me the difference between, wave frequency affecting reality versus complete entangled quantum state in which when one photon is affected at this end of the universe and you change its spin from up to down, the other one instantaneously changes.
Oh yeah, the entanglement in quantum physics. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the explanation for that is that there is no communication between this one and that one. It's not greater than the speed of light communication. It's what David Bohm says is we need to see reality more like envision a pencil that is the length of the universe. When you turn this one here, the other one turns automatically because they're connected, because they're one. You can't turn this one without the other one turning. And it's just this, and Einstein talked about the illusion of separation being a stubborn but persistent illusion. The true, at the quantum physical level, it's all one. It's all free flowing communication. It's all interrelated. When I pull this chair over, I think I'm pulling the separate discrete entity, but no, it's flowing. And then all the atoms in all the space that it's replacing, they're all moving. And it changes that, and that changes the next, and that changes the next. And it's all continually changing itself. Like trying to explain oneness is it's an interesting process, but it was really shown to me in that state of, I was in a deep meditative state. I was really just seeing, I was visualizing intentionally a specific, manifestation, and the universe said, no, this is what's happening.
Oh, that's incredible. I really like your story. That's very interesting. Well, I have to admit, I have to meditate more, I must say. I did have some good realizations from today's brief meditation and listening to Bob. Bob's quite a character.
Yes.
I mean, he's so genuine, even sometimes if I don't completely think, well, what was that, Bob? It doesn't really matter because he's so genuine.
Yes, yeah. And he's been doing this for a long time, and he has, I'm not sure that he's necessarily as, sort of well, read down to the finite details, but he's studied it and he's got the high level, but it takes a lot of work to actually take the technical explanations and integrate them to the point that you really have mastery. There are very few. I mean, even like Will Keepin, when he was here, he's had a lot of experience around quantum physics. He's actually met David Bohm. He even wrote a paper on David Bohm that I read long before he came into my life. And so when I was introduced to him, I'm like, hang on a second. I think I read an article by you. We're sitting in the basement, right? And I'm like, he goes, yeah, I wrote that about, 20 years ago. And yet we were sitting in the basement having a conversation about quantum physics with the class, and someone asked a question and he couldn't answer it. And it was like pretty easy. Or at least to be like, it was like, he drew blanks, and so I guess I'm not trying to diminish him in any way, other than I know quite a few scientists that understand quantum physics that have no ability to tie it into spirituality, and I know people that are spiritual, very authentic, and they can't really tie it into quantum physics.
Oh, that's yeah. What a it's like a poet's job.
Yeah, and I think that that's a shame. I try to do it somewhat. I'll get you a copy of my book when I have some more copies in.
Thank you.
But it's I think it's worthwhile work, because it's like getting closer to God in a way. Like, to me, quantum physics, when you get down to the very fabric of reality and you realize that material reality underneath it violates all of our common sense Newtonian physical laws, and that it's more like we're inside a hologram, inside a tube TV, living our holographic reality, and we think we know how it all works because somebody explained the rules back in the 1600s. If you drop something, it falls, and all this kind of stuff. And then you're like, but when we actually go down and take things apart and we understand what things are made of, they don't live by those rules at all. Like, this is all, like, they have their own energy and they go any direction they feel like. In fact, they disappear here and they turn up over there, and it's just so radically different that if we say God's in everything, then that becomes maybe the most accurate description of God. And it doesn't inherently contain anything other than these are some qualities of this God thing.
Well, consciousness, that becomes the new frontier. What is consciousness?
Yes. Well, consciousness is ultimately the ground of all being. So, and it's dismissed largely by the scientific community as an unnecessary component to describing and understanding the behavior of matter, right? It's just like, well, we know we understand, like we're outside of the whole picture, which of course, is also a big mistake.
Well, I was approaching it from the idea that consciousness was the foundation substance of the universe.
Consciousness, yes. Well, there is no universe without consciousness. The only thing that people get confused about, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I understand everybody's trying to do the good work, right? Like, there's a lot of what we would call frontier spirituality, frontier science. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, and many of these fall into that category. And they just barrel into the observer effect and say, well, there is no universe without consciousness. That's true. But they make a very big mistake in thinking that their consciousness is supreme, because their consciousness isn't. There's a larger consciousness. That is playing a role in all of this. Because, if you say, well, there's, no phenomena is a real phenomena until it's observed. Well, we know for a fact that the universe existed before human beings. So how did that come into being?
But we don't know for a fact that the universe existed before consciousness.
Well, we can be, this is the interesting thing, is that we can be pretty sure that it didn't, because we've proven that with quantum physics, that until a phenomena is observed, it doesn't exist. It's in a state of pure potential. It's wave energy. It only collapses into material form upon observation. But many people, and most people, leave out the fact that, okay, let's say, for example, you observed something, and let's say it was a scientific quantum physical experiment. Well, the minute you observed that, Derek changes to be Derek that has observed a quantum physical collapse and as now understands that law. So you're now different. But how can you change without somebody observing you?
Only by observing myself.
Well, if we hypothesize, and we have to, we're pretty much forced to hypothesize the existence of a universal mind.
That's great. Universal mind. Sometime we'll have to like get all our terminology and put them into an Excel spreadsheet. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of equivalent terms here.
Yes. So, yes, there could be, defining terms is, obviously critical to any philosophical, and scientific discussion. And, but that's the thing that has not really been wide. And it's almost, and I don't know whether it's lack of understanding or whether it's that people are afraid to go New Age, but reintroduce God back into the situation. But the only complete theories of quantum physics and the observer effect infer the existence of a universal mind. And it, if we have minds, then like if we have to hypothesize a creator of the universe, and this is where, science, they lose their eloquence when they have to explain the beginning of things.
You know what? I really appreciate that we can have this type of conversation. And I like to take it further. I have a few things I have to do, and I'm sure that as we approach 9 o'clock, you do too. But yes. I would like to also see your book at some point.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'd be happy to get you a copy for sure.
Yeah.
So listen,
I really,
your time.
Yeah, I just really appreciate this. Because I'm going away with the camper van tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, my wife has some expectations of me tonight.
Yes, of course. Please go and be with her and have a wonderful time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed tonight.
Yeah.